Good evening, all. This week I chose 3 articles about Joshua L. Chamberlain. Chamberlain is from my wife's hometown in Brunswick, Maine. Chamberlain was a college professor and later president of Bowdoin College. He left his professor for a sabbatical in Europe. However, he joined the Union's 20th Maine to serve in the Civil War and never made it to Europe at that time. Chamberlain is best remembered for his command on Little Roundtop at the Battle of Gettysburg. He would later serve four terms as governor of Maine. The 3 articles that I selected feature Chamberlain's Civil War foe, William Oates, Chamberlain's non-visible disability from combat, and his relationship with his wife. Glenn W. LaFantasy's article focused on William C. Oates, who led the 15th Alabama against Chamberlain during the Battle of Gettysburg. Oates led a very successful life following the Civil War as a politician, attorney, land speculator, and entrepreneur. Like Chamberlain, he also became governor of his state. LaFantasy's article is a reflective piece told from Oates' perspective as he reminisces on his wartime service in Gettysburg and Chattanooga. The article finds Oates briefly serving stateside as a brigadier general with the U.S. Army during the Spanish-American War. During his second stint of service, Oates holds the rank of brigadier general, and he frequently leaves Camp Meade to visit Gettysburg, which has never left his mind as his brother John was killed in the engagement. Oates is unhappy because the 15th Alabama does not have a monument like the 20th Maine does at Little Round Top. Oates' Civil War career ended with the loss of his arm at the outskirts of Richmond. Fantasies uses a number of personal letters and scholarly journals to compose his article. He does not appear to have any ideological approach to his work. He does tend to speculate on events when primary sources do not fill in the blanks. The article ends strangely with Oates killing a man in self-defense. Chamberlain served in the Union Army from 1862 to 1866. Hanley Collins' article notes that Chamberlain was wounded 6 times and seriously ill twice. Chamberlain's most grievous wound would occur at the Battle of Petersburg. Hanley Collins describes the wound as invisible because the bullet struck, causing permanent damage, but was not visible to the outside world the way an amputation would be. The bullet struck Chamberlain's hip, causing permanent damage to his groin, hip, urethra, and genitals. Collins makes excellent use of medical reports and pensioners' reports to describe the damage of the wound. Though invisible to the outside world except for a slight limp, in his later years, Chamberlain suffered in silence. Chamberlain was forced to wear a 19th century catheter for the rest of his life. Chamberlain was prone to infections for the rest of his life, eventually killing him 50 years after his wounding. Hadley Collins uses Chamberlain's wound as an example to represent the many unseen injuries that soldiers hide and historians tend to minimize or ignore. She discusses a trend of injured veterans recognizing their wounds as worthy sacrifices to a just cause. She elaborates on the public's desire to focus on medical progress while with life-saving advances, but ignore the long-lasting side effects of invisible injuries. She also discusses how the civilian population lost interest in the tax burden of caring for aging disabled veterans in the 1890s. She compares the dark history of disabilities with the image of war heroes. Hadley Collins' work is well researched, with many primary sources consisting of letters, medical reports, newspaper articles, and secondary sources. Her methodology is in keeping with the best approaches of historians without an ideological bent. Jennifer Lund Smith wrote about Joshua's marriage to Fanny, contrasting the happiness of their early marriage to their tumultuous post-Civil War relationship. Smith's intent was to show how the Civil War changed civilians into soldiers, and how this affected spousal relations. Chamberlain met his future wife while attending First Parish Church in Brunswick, Maine. Fanny was the adopted daughter of the parish pastor. Fanny and Joshua courted for 5 years and enjoyed 7 years of marriage before Joshua was commissioned into the Union Army. Smith narrates the Chamberlains' lives through personal letters and fills in details from her thorough research. She depended on archival information from Pejeska Historical Center, First Parish, and Bowdoin College to research primary sources and build on scholarly secondary sources. There's no apparent ideological approach to her methods. Through the 3 articles, the reader receives a different perspective on the war hero Chamberlain in terms of his opponent, war injuries, and marriage. Thank you for joining me this week. I look forward to next week.